The sky is falling. Reid Ducharme is off the table. Everything has gone downhill. Locked on Syracuse. It's right now.
Locked on Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Matt Bonaparte. Oh, okay. I feel the same way. Matt Bonaparte, Owen Valentine with you here on Locked On Syracuse. Thanks for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline as you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline where the game starts. Calamity has struck Syracuse in that Reid Ducharme, who was a real hopeful recruit for SU, small forward, 6'6", could have played shooting guard probably. 4-star guard forward at Brewster Academy has just committed to Xavier instead of Syracuse. The top three, I've said this on the pod a couple times, weirdest top three I think I've ever seen from a college recruit: Syracuse, Penn State, Xavier. Those three schools just don't mesh in my mind. I don't know why. He's off the table. He's gone. And it's tough. A lot of people have different theories out there as to why Syracuse didn't get him. We asked on Twitter. One guy said Boeheim said they couldn't accept a commitment until they explored all guard options. I don't know if that's true, but those are the rumors that are swirling out there. I don't have information that says that. I don't know if that guy's got inside sources, but I will say not having Reid Ducharme isn't great. That's bad, dude. You're supposed to be recruiting, supposed to be going this way. There's no reason you should have been beaten by Penn State and Xavier. This should have been a gimme, a layup, and they couldn't get him.
I like to think this week I made a sandwich for lunch. I set it down on my couch. I went to get a glass of water. I came back. My dog ate the sandwich. That's where you are now with the class of 2023. You once thought you had lunch made. It's gone. Okay? You've got to start over. You have to start over now. That's exactly what this is. You thought, and I mean, think of the difference. Last Friday's episode was all positive, sunshine, rainbows. Yeah. We're hyping up Syracuse basketball recruiting. 1 week. It has been 7 days since we recorded that. And now I don't think I need to hesitate to press a panic button right now because things have just shaken up tremendously for the class of 2023. This is gigantic news for Syracuse. I think you thought you had in the back pocket Reid Ducharme and JP Estrella. And right now, the crystal ball is saying you're walking away with none of them. And that's something we got to look at too.
We'll get to JP in a second. But I want to talk about...
now, we'll talk Reid.
I want to talk about the fact that what does the roster look like next year? Chaz Owens, by the way, I don't know if everybody saw the news, has officially transferred. He's going to a JUCO in Ranger, Texas, which is huge for Syracuse. So there's another Scully. So next season rolls around, you have Symir, Joe, and Jesse, and Chaz gone, and potentially Judah gone. You might have 5 scholarships for next season, for the 2023 fall. And it looks right now like you're only going to use one, and that's if you can get Mike Williams. So not having Reid is actually tremendously brutal because this was already going to be a small class, smaller than it needed to be, likely. And right now, Syracuse is going to have to run into panic mode probably for the entirety of this upcoming season because they have to fill the roster. And they're going to have to take a step back from what they thought they were going to be as a recruiting powerhouse because the years of, and I'm not throwing shade at them as players, but as recruits, the years of the Barama Sidibes and the Marek Dolajais, those years we thought were in the back mirror. Okay, where you have to just hope some kid from Eastern Europe can play basketball. That is not what Syracuse is supposed to be about at this point, okay? And they have to be because they're whiffing on players that they should have in the bag. So I don't know who's going to fill this roster as for freshmen next season. All I know is Reid's gone. And to talk about JP a little bit, my thought was if you got JP, it would be with Reid. If you didn't get Reid, you're not going to get JP. So, and the crystal balls, like you say, are pointing towards Tennessee for him. Wrong kind of orange, JP. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not looking good as well. So say you've got both those guys gone right now. You're looking at Mike Williams, who is a guard. He just got bumped up to a 4-star. But I don't think I like the competition there any more than I liked it with Reid Ducharme. LSU, Wake Forest, DePaul, and Clemson. That's a gambit they're going to have to run.
Yeah.
A gauntlet.
This is brutal. And I mean, we'll extend our congrats to Reid, because this is not by any means, we have no disrespect for him, no knock on him.
No, of course.
Go where you
Congrats
feel,
to
right?
Reid.
Congrats to Reid. But what you look at when you see this is, as you were saying, a missed opportunity and now a what's next. Because this is not like you missed out on one of 5 recruits that you're in this conversation for. You missed out on one of the 2 guys that you were in a conversation for. And the other guy looks like he doesn't want to be any part of this right now. And looks like Tennessee could be the answer. Now, we know that is by no means finite. We know that is by no means set in stone, as we saw with Judah Mintz, right? This could still be an opportunity where, Syracuse now gives a late pitch to JP. They mix things up and things can change. That's not set in stone, but it doesn't look good by any means. This is a huge loss for Syracuse, because it goes to show that maybe the efforts were not where they needed to be. And I think that's where, when you look at Twitter and you see some of the responses and you see people, up in arms with Jim Boeheim and the recruiting process, it does make things a little bit difficult. Now, we have no facts on that. We have no information on, how involved or uninvolved was Jim in this recruiting cycle. But when you look at, Reid's commitment video that was on 24/7, their network of, broadcasts or coverage, he talked about how he's committing to Xavier and Sean Miller. He's committing to a head coach, which in my eyes screams that the head coach was involved in all aspects of this recruiting process. They were having frequent conversations. I'm reading articles that's, of Reid talking about how often they were talking about what they saw as a future together and growing together and where, his role was. And I don't know if you're Reid, you can see that same thing at Syracuse when you've got a recruiting class of, the size that Syracuse has this season. Yes, there are guys leaving, but there's nothing that, you really have in terms of set in stone, especially if he stays at a 3. Yes, he can probably play the 2. You hear how he's one of the better shooters in this class, but as a 3, you're not really having all too many of your 3 guards leave if you're Syracuse right now. So maybe that was something he saw, but regardless of that, I think this is a very, very big missed opportunity for Syracuse, because this is a guy that I think you really want to have on your, on your roster, on your team, in your rotation, because he seems like that type of player that, is that spot up shooter, can do a number of things, and it is a missed opportunity for Syracuse, even if he's not, the day 1 starter and the day 1 star on the squad.
Yeah, and when you compare the pitch that Xavier must have given him being, and we've talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago, that it was probably like, you're going to be the big recruit of the new era of Musketeer basketball. You're going to be the guy. Is that hard to turn down? Maybe it is, but at the same time, Syracuse should be able to put something together that is better than that. Syracuse's projection right now is that they're going to have some of the best young talent the ACC has to offer. Obviously, there's the UNCs and the Dukes of the world, but Syracuse's young class coming in right now could do something really special, and they should have been able to market that to guys like JP and Reid and get them to join it. I mean, to be fair, JP did say when he was on the pod with us both times that or I guess only the second time where he talked about his visit, that he enjoyed meeting all the guys up there and whatnot, and it looked like they're all good. I guess Syracuse just can't market it well enough. And we'll continue this, but I just got to take a short break to talk about betonline.net. It's the fastest and easiest way check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They've got you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. That's not all. Thanks for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen every day. The ultimate college football preview is here, a 7-episode preview with college experts, local team experts, and Odyssey college football insiders. It's everything you need to be ready for the college football season in one spot. Search for Ultimate College Football Preview on your Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Matt Bonaparte, Owen Valentine, talking about the effects of Reid Ducharme picking the Musketeers over the Orange. Syracuse misses out on a big-time player who would have made a big-time difference in a couple years' time for Syracuse. Very tough.
Yeah.
Very tough. Difficult to deal with.
It hurts. And, I'm reading an article right now from Adam Baum of the Cincinnati Enquirer, who, talked about how, Ducharme was a little bit more, you talk about the length of the recruiting process and the value of getting there earlier. Ducharme apparently had, developed a pretty strong relationship with the Xavier associate head coach, Adam Cohen, who was, already recruiting Reid when he was coaching over at Stanford. So that was prior to, him coming over and starting to join this new up and coming staff at Xavier. And then he's talking about the official visit. And this is one of those things that I always look at, and, his thoughts. And this is the quote from him. The thing I took away was that Coach Miller, who's Sean Miller, so Xavier's head coach, is involved out on the court, helping correct them, sees things going the wrong way, trying to help them, not just yelling at them. So I think this, when you look at this and you look at, the conversations that we're hearing were consistently being had with Sean Miller and how involved he is in this entire process. And, it's more than, yes, there's value to Adam Cohen having that relationship already. But when I read, earlier interviews from Reid about his recruiting process at Syracuse, yes, he spoke highly of the Orange, but also you're reading that all of his conversations are with Coach McNamara. And that's no knock on GMAC, but when you've got a head coach that's doing most of the recruiting and the conversations and, this talk and pitch and deep chats that you're having about a player's future versus an assistant coach, sometimes that can stand out. And I have no, true knowledge as to how involved Jim was in this. I will continue to repeat that. But things that I'm taking in from, reports and articles and stuff of that nature suggested that this was very much GMAC's recruiting process and his pitch. And
it always seems to be the case. And some person, let's see, I just want to make sure I get it right. Somebody commented
that's where the frustration is from Orange fans.
Yeah, and somebody commented on our tweet as well, that he's just, it's not the same. And it's correct to think that you're going to not have a leg up when you don't have the Hall of Fame coach out there recruiting. Because when you have guys going out there like Xavier's coach was compared to Boeheim and actually talking to guys, it's always going to be different, right? And if you only meet Boeheim on the visit and you meet him for 10 minutes at his house or something, I don't know what the story is. I've never been a recruit, but it just seems to me like they could have done better.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. We just got another reply from Neil Adler talking about how, he is the man. So we'll give him that shout. Syracuse with 3 freshman guards on the roster. And he says, while they've been prioritizing Reid, they were consistently pursuing multiple other 2023 guards. And he brings up the recurring point that, when we talked to JP Estrella, said that this wasn't an issue and that Jim, mentioned he'd be there the whole time. But, he brings up the thought of there's still uncertainty over when is Boeheim's last year. And as a recruit, how much thought goes into that? You've got a guy at Xavier and Sean Miller, that's year one. And, a year one coach in theory is there for your entire run at a program. Whereas, as you approach year 50, you don't necessarily have that security in terms of recruits. And they're,
I think that's a good point.
That sort of peace of mind of him being there the whole time. another thought to consider in terms of where this decision comes from in terms of Reid.
Also, like, this has got to be the worst way about going about retirement. Like,
Yeah.
Everybody thought, okay, there he goes. He'll be back in a second. There he is. But everybody thought he was gone in 2015, that the university was forcing him out. He doesn't leave. Now, okay, he's back for however long he wants. Now, in the last couple of seasons, are you leaving? Are you not leaving? It is only going to hurt. Name one other coach in the country that's done something like this. It's never like this. It's either I'm gone or I'm gone at the end of the year. It's never like, it's up to you. I mean, when do you think I'm leaving? But we have an ironclad plan. You'll never know. Like it doesn't help anybody. How could this be beneficial towards recruiting? And I feel as if it only means so much to a recruit when you say, "Oh yeah, I'll be there forever." I'll be there for as long as you're there. Like, do I believe that? Like, how could I believe that? So I just think that Boeheim's indecisiveness over his retirement, I guess he's not indecisive because he continually tells everybody that he's going to keep coaching until he doesn't want to anymore. But the mystique about it and the uncertainty of everybody around the issue doesn't help recruiting. It doesn't.
No, and this is where we sort of stand right now, and you look at where things, and I think the common question right now, as it should be, is what's next, and that is sort of the thought where you have to go right now if you are Syracuse. Doesn't look good for JP. We discussed that. You missed out on, what was it, a final 12 earlier this week with a recruit, so you've missed out on another opportunity. Let me pull up Syracuse's recruiting class right here to see, any other ideas, right? Obviously I click on commits first, and that 2023 class still looks blank, which
That's
is not great
page,
right? That drives home exactly what's going on. But you look at, what's going on here, and we've got, I don't know.
There have only been 3 guys who have either been scheduled or had a visit. JP and Reid and Mike Williams. Mike Williams has his visit on Friday, September 16th this year.
Yes.
Which there's your hope, by the way. That is your hope and prayer that Mike Williams says, okay, I'm coming to Syracuse. But otherwise, it's just like, what are they going to do? Like, there has to be so much that we don't know about that is going to happen, because otherwise, what are you going to do with 5 scholarships? You're going to give them to 5 Patty Caseys? They only make one of those guys. Like, what are they going to do?
Yeah. I don't know what's next. And the answer right now is Mike Williams, but even that is very early on.
There's 4 other scholarships. What are they going to do?
I don't know. Are you going to attack the transfer portal? Maybe. I don't know if you want.
Honestly, it would be such a failure if Syracuse waltzed into the 2023 season having 4 scholarships that aren't filled by scholarship caliber players. If you're giving them to guys like Chaz Owens, who had a scholarship for God knows why. So maybe they attack the transfer portal, but you can't really be sure about that. I don't know how they plan on filling those, but they have to.
Yeah. It was Marco Jackson. We talked about him earlier this week.
Yes,
Syracuse misses
Jackson.
Out on the top 12. So there's another one off the list, right? Right now, the option is Mike Williams, right? You look at, these offer sheets. Elijah Gertrude, Syracuse didn't make his top 5 or 6 a couple weeks ago. There's no one else that's warm. People are committed or have gone pro. Your option is Mike Williams right now. Now, I will say, right, last season, you were able to snag some late commits. It's not dead, right? You can grab later cycle commits, but we're at the time right now, and I said this with football earlier this week, you're at the time right now where you want to at least have, guys on the horizon. And it seems like the horizon right now has Mike Williams standing there, and there's nothing else. and you don't want to have to find 4 transfer portal guys going into the 2023 season. If you grab, 2 guys off the transfer portal, fine. I think that makes sense. You've got 5 scholarships. You've got 5 already this season. A huge recruiting class already in the class of 22. Do you want to have, 10 guys, 11 guys that are freshmen and sophomores on your roster? Not exactly. So maybe you grab 2 or 3 guys in this class and you're fine with, a grad transfer or 2 or an upperclassman that transfers in. That is fine. And I think you should allot for, 2 of those scholarships to be for a transfer. But right now, you've got to still find 3 guys, maybe 2 guys you can get away with, but there's only 1 guy on the horizon, and everyone else has either, crossed Syracuse off their top whatever list or is committed somewhere else. So it's time for Syracuse to start making some phone calls, looking around, having conversations that they didn't think they were necessarily going to have when, the sun was shining beautifully on the orange horizon with JP and Reid. But right now, those 2 have taken a turn. JP is looking for, what is that, a burnt orange compared to Syracuse orange. And
I think so, yeah.
Reid, as we've been discussing, going to Xavier. So it's square one. I'll tell you what, if we talk down a little bit on the prioritization of Mike Williams last week, boy, is he priority number 1 right now.
Well, so
make all your phone calls there, but you've got to start figuring out, where is the next option or the next couple of options, because you've got to find some names.
The only other thing I could be thinking here, and it kind of goes to what Neil replied to us just now, is that they might just be like super banking on the upcoming class. Like they might just be thinking like this upcoming class is going to put them in March Madness. Like this upcoming class is going to place them into the NCAA tournament. Because like, how could you be so lax about the 2023 calendar year? And what I mean about that is that not calendar year, I meant recruiting class. I don't know why I said that. The 2023 recruiting class, they only have offered so many guys and they're only been serious about 3 of them. So I don't understand how they could be so lax about that and just be thinking like, okay, like whatever, like we didn't get a Reid, cool. Like I don't sense any urgency that Syracuse basketball actually cares about having lost Reid Ducharme. So if they lose JP as well, you kind of just have to hope like they have a plan, they understand what's going on. But with the recent success or the lack thereof, I don't feel comfortable putting my eggs in that basket. So I mean, they've put us in a position to just be questioning every move they make, and again, the lack thereof. So, and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, maybe you're saying it. Maybe they know something we don't, and they don't need to, have this focus right now. As much as that sounds, I don't even know the word that I want to use to describe that. I don't think there is a comfort level that you could find that can make you complacent in recruiting and not prioritize recruiting. Because when you look at, your perennial powerhouses, right? If we go to Duke's recruiting class, they're not taking the 2023 class off because they have a good class of 2022, right? That's not what you're about to find.
Totally true.
Right? Duke comes into the class with the class of 2022 with what? They've
got every
7 5-stars.
Infinity Stone on the planet coming in.
They have 7 5-stars coming in. Or no, sorry. That was the offers. They offered 7. They have the number 1 recruiting class.
They have 2 top 7 guys coming in.
Correct. With 4 5-star recruits in the class of 2022. Does that mean they're done? They don't need to recruit for next year's class?
I was talking about 23. They already have 2 top 7 guys coming in for 23.
I was talking about, 2022. They have the number 1 class, right? With 4 or 5-star recruits. You're not done, right? You can't stop. You can't be complacent. What do they follow it up with? They have 4 5-stars committed already,
ridiculous.
And Syracuse doesn't have a single recruit in the class of 2023. It's time, right? You cannot get complacent in recruiting. You cannot think guys are guarantees when they're not guarantees. You need to prioritize a recruit until and past the day they claim they're coming to Syracuse.
And by the way,
a day one to day they leave Syracuse priority that these guys are treated well and they're, shown that this is, we're building with you and we're finding these ideas and we want you here and let's try this and all of that. These conversations need to be recurring from day one in the recruiting process until they leave, and hopefully beyond that when you bring a star back to help you in the recruiting process, in theory.
I was just going to say, by the way, for that 23 class, they're also warm on 2 other guys. And if they get them, they'll have 6 guys, 5 of which are 5 stars, 1 of which is a 4-star, and they still won't be finished. So there is the difference between those 2 programs. And again, I'm not saying that Syracuse, obviously Duke is way better than Syracuse is at basketball. And we all know that. And if you aren't, you're living a lie. But they should at least be making some sort of stride in the ACC. It is truly disappointing that in the ACC, Syracuse has been nothing of what it was while it was in the Big East. And if you want to blame that on sanctions, go ahead. Definitely had something to do with it. But I'm going to blame it on lax recruiting as well, because they should be getting guys like this.
Yeah, and I was by no means, as you were saying, suggesting that Syracuse should be bringing in 5 stars, left, right, and having 4.
I wish that'd be great.
Class. That'd be great. My point was that the number 1 recruiting class in the country in 2022 cares a hell of a lot about next year's recruiting class as well. So,
yeah, and that was a good point.
Yes, you have the quote best recruiting class Boeheim has ever had, but now you have no recruiting class when it comes to 23 at this point. It's time. I'm excited to see that at least, Mike Williams is climbing in terms of stars, in terms of rankings and things of that nature. I think we were discussing that we didn't think he was a 4-star the last time we looked. And he's a 4-star as we look right now. I've heard some good things about him this week and seen a couple of things about him this week, but he needs to be treated like he is the greatest player of all time, because right now he is the one lone option in this 23 class that seems like Syracuse is in the works. And as you talk about it, right, you talk about the guys that are leaving to make available those 5 scholarships. There's a lot of guards on that list, and you're going to need to bring guards in.
Well, that's all we got for today. Hopefully next week we get a little bit more happy news. Next week we get to start talking about a football game.
There's a football game next week
at the end of the week. How exciting is that? I'm pretty pumped for it.
Let's go.
I know you are as well. If you want to go get more on the ACC, go make Locked On ACC your second listen every day. Host Candace Cooper and the local experts of Locked On take you across the ACC in 30 minutes. Make Locked On ACC your second listen. That's Locked On ACC. Owen and I will see you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend.